Okay, welcome everybody. We are in Parshat Lechah. This is in Genesis chapter 12. And God says to Avram, get yourself, go for yourself. Where? Let's find out. Let's open up the text. V'yomer Adonai el Avram, Lech lecha mi'artzecha. Go from your land, mi moladetcha, and from your birthplace, umi beis avicha, and from the house of your father, el haaretz asher erecha, to the land that I will show you. Okay, so a couple questions the Kliyakar opens with is, what would have been missing if the text just said, Lech lecha, go to the land that I will show you. El haaretz asher erecha. Simple. And not only that, what do you need to mention? Those three particulars. From your land, from your birthplace, and from your father's place. What is it coming to add? What would have been missing if it wasn't there? And now that it's there, what is it coming to add? We have to think critically, okay? Because everything should be clear and concise. And when anytime there's an added word or an added letter, there has to be meaning. And we are going to find out what God had in mind. And not only that, what is the word lecha? Lech lecha. Just say lech. Go. What does it mean, go to yourself? What does that mean? That needs clarification. Now Rashi does mention that it means lahanosecha, to your benefit, for your good. But I have to admit, according to the Kliyakar, he says that's not what it sounds like. There's no real understanding of lech lecha as for your benefit. So he does bring down the Perush of the Ramban, and we're going to deal with this verse because the Ramban says that it's based on a verse from Shir HaShirim, Song of Songs, chapter 4, verse 6, where it says, Elech li el har hamor. So on the source sheets that I gave out, that's the first one. Until the sun spreads and the shadows flee, I will go to the Mount of Myrrh. Elech li, get me el har hamor. What is har hamor? Believe it or not, that is Mount Moriah, the place of the everlasting temple. So believe it or not, even though the Ramban brings it down, there is a deep connection, which we'll see as we go through the Kliyakar. Good so far? Okay. So the first thing the Kliyakar mentions is, why do you have these three descriptions? The first description we said was from your land. That means from your country, right? Many people, you're from Brazil, you're from America, wherever you're from, so you're from the country. That doesn't make you part, like, how intrinsic is that to who you really are? So the Kliyakar says there's an order. It actually, the first thing that God does is tells Avram, at the time he was named Avram, the easiest thing to give up. So I'll read what he says. That what God is doing is that he is directing him the way you would direct a child who, it would be very difficult, or you may suspect that it's difficult for someone to accept all at once this information. So you give it to him in piecemeal, like Dale Carnegie. You heard of Dale Carnegie? How to make friends and influence people. So you influence means that you get them to go along with what you want. You persuade them to do something. So God wanted to persuade him to leave his land, his birthplace, and his father's home. So the first thing he describes is like this, that this is the she'elah katana. This is the easiest thing to make a request of. Why? Because we're talking about your country. We're not talking about your close relatives. Your country are people that you meet maybe on a daily basis, or you never meet them at all. 300 million people in America. How many of them do you know? So how hard is it to leave them? So that's the easiest place to leave. Then once you accept that, then what did you make for yourself? Your own honor and your own name. That could be difficult. That could be a difficult thing to leave. But you know what? You made something for yourself where you were. You can redo it. You can simulate that again. And you can do it somewhere else. So what about your family? Your family helps you. they're the biggest help to you, correct? So that would be hard to leave. So that's the second thing. But you know what? We'll see in the blessings that he gives him, there's replacements for all of this. But that would be the second thing. And I'd rather read his words because they give a lot more meaning than what I'm giving over to you. So let's start. God is repeating the same idea but a little bit differently. The way that someone tries to educate a child. Because perhaps it's a little bit difficult for the person to accept all at once, all this information. Therefore, he gave it over in 3 parts, and he repeated it in a fourth way, or fourth dimension, which we'll talk about shortly. The first thing he requested from Abraham was to leave his country. That was the easiest request. Why? A person doesn't really have any more benefit from the country he's from than any other country. It's only what you really made, all the friends and all the honor that you built where you were. And guess what? You could do that again somewhere else. You're not really getting that much benefit from the people that are very distant from you, at least in relations. And then afterwards, after Abraham had removed from his heart his love for his country, for his land, which was in Mesopotamia, Amar pen yenavsho kshura bianshe molarato. Perhaps he still had a connection with the people of his birthplace, meaning his immediate family. Sheyesh lo ktsat ezer v'sad mehem, which you get a little bit more benefit than you get from distant acquaintances. These are your family. Kederech hamishpachos she'echa niknas ba'al v'yakora ba'ad shar b'saro. Like you ever hear the expression, a fly on the wall. So in a family, everyone knows everyone's business. And not only does everyone knows everyone's business, but if, like the mafia, who rules the mafia? They always get someone from within. You know, Tony. You know what I mean? Who do you bring in? You don't bring in somebody else from a different family. No. So anybody else would never be able to rule or have any authority within the family. So it's only within the family itself. Like the way everyone knows everything else about everyone else. You would never give a stranger authority to rule over you. This is more of a kesher, more of an anchor than you have with your country. You have it with your family. And then afterwards, after he was able to convince or persuade him in this, perhaps he still cleaved to the house of his father. Now, what is the house of his father? Isn't that family? No. House of your father is a code word for money. How do we say it? You get more benefit from the house of your father than anything else. Why is it money? Look at Mishlei, that would be Proverbs, chapter 19, verse 14. It's Bayit Vahon, Nachalat Avos. Bayit Vahon means house and wealth. Is a heritage of the fathers. So you get money. So he was asking him to leave his country, the patriotism you might have, but that's easy to give up because it's something very external. Your family, which is the next thing, which is much harder to give up. And lastly, one of the most difficult things for most of us is money. If we ever had it, we would know. Now, in addition to these 3 types of relationships, there's also a 4th type of relationship. So who do you have? You have your patriotism in your country. That's what? Number 2, you have your family. How close? That's dependent on, how big the clan is. And the 3rd thing is your money. But guess what relationship you have Oh, in fact, while we're talking about it, what is money? Damim. And what is the root, basically? Dam, blood. So it is really a very significant relationship you have. Okay? And what's the fourth relationship? And that, Nosaf Ashloshim Mine Kurva Elu Yesh Kurva Revi'it. There's a fourth type of relationship. Ki Adam Karov Etzel Atzmo Yoter Mikol Shloshim Mine Kroivim Elu. A person is closest to himself more than any other of those three relationships we discussed. Now you already see where we're going with the Lechah. And that's why it says, Al Kei Nemar Lech Lechah. So what does it mean according to the Kliyakar? La'atzmutcha, to yourself. Not for your benefit, as Rashi says, but maybe there's no contradiction. We'll find out. Kederek shneimar la'adam. Wait till you hear this. If you look in Genesis 3, verse 23, God said to Adam, and the Lord God sent him out of the Garden of Eden to till the soil, ready for these words? Whence he had been taken. Meaning, V'yishalchu Hashem Elokim migan Eden la'avod et Adama, to work the Adama. Who are we talking about? Adam is going to work the Adama. He was taken from the Adama. Asher lukach misham. You were taken from there. It's going to be very deep. Adam was taken from the Adama. Not just any Adama, by the way. Listen to what it says. It's referring, and Rashi explains over there, and everyone else pretty much does, it's talking about Har HaMoriah, the Temple Mount, which, if you can see my finger over there, okay? It's 500, 1,000 meters over in that direction. Har HaMoriah. What did Hashem do when he created man? He took soil from the four corners of the earth, and he created man on that mount. He took the soil from the mount itself and used that for Adam's head and molded him there on the spot. Now listen to this next statement, because we are all too familiar with the false doctrines of different religions. But our religion, Judaism, says these next 5 words, and don't ever forget them. Ki adam mimakom kiparato nivra. I will translate it. From the very spot which man was created from, that is where he will find his atonement, his kapara. Man was created on the Temple Mount, where the altar eventually would be. And where do we pray? Right now that we don't have an altar, our prayers replace the bullocks. Which direction are we praying in? Who are we praying to? We're praying to Hashem. But we're praying in a certain direction. When God said to Abraham, Lech Lechah, and the Kliyakar says, go to yourself. Go to yourself. Why? It's Mekoro min Har HaMoriah. Your source, your very source, your essence, is from there. Because it was from there, Lukach Afro. That's where the soil was taken from in which to create you. V'derech hasulam shel Beit HaMikdash shelamala, mechuvan keneged Beit HaMikdash shelamala. That the word mechuvan means straight up and down. That at that place, you can't see it, but you can imagine it. Yaakov saw it. A ladder. And the ladder, you know the word Yushalayim is plural. Yushalayim is singular. Yushalayim is plural. So in Hebrew, we're referring to 2 Jerusalems. There's a Jerusalem in heaven, and there's Jerusalem on earth. And there's a ladder in which the souls come into the world, they enter here. And when they depart, when they leave the world, they depart from the same place. And, let's just read this again. The way of the ladder of the temple down below is directly in line with the Beit HaMikdash above, only the Yardin Bo Hanashamos HaTaharos, which goes up and down the holy souls. Now, everything I said, that being the case, that means that it's there, which is the essence of both the body and the soul. But wait, I have to read his words because his words are so much more beautiful than I can ever express. He says, Im Kain Sham Atzmut HaGuf, that is the essence, that is the place of the body, V'sham Chevyon Uza Shel HaNeshama. That is what I would call potential power of the soul. All the potential of the power of the soul stems from that place. How would you translate Chevyon Uza? Chevyon means potential. Uza means power. I have no other way of explaining it. All spiritual potential comes from that place. Im Kain, if that's true, everything we just said, Adam karov etzel atzmuto biyoter min kol mine kroivim shehizkir. That means, without a shadow of a doubt, that the closest relationship a person has with himself is more than any other of the relationships that we already mentioned. That's why it says Lech, Lechah. But guess what? It's not the only place that it says Lech, Lechah. In chapter 22, verse 2, by the Educator, God says, Lech Lecha el Eretz HaMoriah, same language, get yourself to the Temple Mount, to where the mountain Eretz Moriah. Okay, now, so the Kliyakar goes on, he says both of them, meaning both times, here in our Pasuk, and later on by the binding of Isaac, the language Lech Lecha is used, but guess what the language? Over here it says, go, Lech Lecha, get yourself where? To the land that I will show you. That's what God says. And by the Educator it says, go to the land which I will tell you. But the details, the longitude, the latitude, right? When you go onto your smartphone and you put in an address, it gives you like a very detailed idea where it is. God did not tell him where exactly he was going. He gave him directions. We're going to have to see what that means. Maybe even Lech Lecha is the direction he would know, or there's a little bit more to it. How would he know to go east or west, right? He's in Mesopotamia. So he has to go a little bit north, down to the east. To the west, or where he was at. Correct? From Mesopotamia, he has to go pretty much west. But how do you get there to through the green belt, you know? Anyway, how would he know? He just said, well, I'm going to show you, or I'm going to tell you. So we'll see. So the Kliyakar says that God did not want to reveal to Abraham the exact location, the exact place from where the body and the soul come from until what? Until he had a spiritual awakening. Now, what kind of spiritual awakening are we talking about? I think we're talking about both, from below and from above, because the language of the Kliyakar sounds like it's only coming from above. But, as we'll see, Avram had to do something. I'll read the words. Lefi shelo rotza kadosh baruch hu legalos la'Avram makom motzei aguf va'nefesh. God did not want to reveal to Abraham the place from which the body and the soul come from. Ad asher ye'ero olav mimarom ruach kadsho techila. Until there was a, how would you say ya'are olav?
The soul.
Huh?
The soul.
Shoulder?
Shoulder. The soul. Over.
Oh, the word ya'areh.
Yeah.
To pour upon him. To pour upon him from above the Holy Spirit first. Okay? Ki mehayadua, because it is well known. Now you wonder why. It just sounds like it's coming from God, right? But it's well known. When he says it's well known, it means it's well known in Israel, amongst Jewish people. Now that we're on the internet and we're saying this all over the world, so now the whole world knows. It's well known that Nevuah is Shora B'chutz. I definitely didn't read that right. Ki mehayadua she'ein ha-nevuah Shora B'chutz la'aretz. That prophecy does not dwell. There is no prophecy outside the land of Israel. I know that comes as a shock to many people. Im kain kol zman hayota b'chutz la'aretz. The whole time that Abraham was still outside the Holy Land, ad shalayu bo ruach nevuah, he did not yet have this prophet. He didn't have the level of prophecy. Lo yoda v'lo yavin nuhut neshama. He had no, I'm going to say clue, but he didn't have knowledge or understanding of the essence of the soul, Hashem makura min Har Moriah, of the soul which emanated from that place, the holy mountain. Even the physical part, he was not fully capable of understanding. Until when? Until he came toch ha'aretz kedosha, until he made his way into the land. Now I want to say something. We call coming up to the land aliyah. We're not talking, nothing to do with the government, whether you process paperwork or not. Getting up to Israel is called aliyah, coming up. It's not just a physical, and it may not even be physical, right? But it's certainly spiritual. So we see that Avram actually did something also to have, it has to come from both sides, okay? We know that even the prophet schools, why would they have prophet schools? So that the people would prepare themselves. Whether or not it descended upon you, that was not up to you. You had to do your part to prepare yourself. Whether you ended up being a prophet or not was not up to you. You can only do what you need to do. Fix your character traits. It's all about fixing your character traits. And learning Torah. And through learning Torah, fixing your character traits. Okay. Listen to what he says now. Ad ba'u el toch ha'aretz kedosha, until Abram came into the land, which is the makom muchan el nevuah, the place, this land is prepared and set and established for prophecy. Az, only then, herlo Hashem Yisbarach, malos hamakom hakadosh. It was only then that God showed him this holy, all the advantages. He showed him the ma'alot, right? The advantages and the virtues of this place, of this holy place. Echu makom la'atzmu shel adam, how it is the essence of man, the source of the essence of man, and it is the essence of man. Kisham beito, here is his place, is his house. Makom chutzba shel hanashama umachzav hachoymer. It is the place from which his soul was hewn from, H-E-W-N, and his body, the physical part of his being also was hewn from. Asher ba'avuro ru'ilo la'azov kol elu, and it's account of these things, the spiritual description I just described to you. It's worth leaving all those things behind. The patriotism, the family, and even the wealth. It was fitting for him. On account of these things, it was fitting for him to abandon them. V'leilech lidabek b'makam kadoshahu, and to go and to, a very interesting word, lidabek, to cling, to cleave, to have an intimate relationship with this holy place. Kisham yagia el dveikos hashchina, because it is there in the Holy Land one is able to reach an intimate relationship with the divine presence. And this is what Rashi explains in the verse that says halach v'nasoa hanegba, which I believe I quoted in number 5 on the source sheets. It's Genesis chapter 12, verse 9. And Avram traveled, continually traveling southward. V'yisa Avram haloch v'noseya hanegba. Rashi says, continually traveling, going and traveling. He traveled in intervals, but he was always going, like go to the south. He was traveling in the southern direction. That's why I mentioned earlier, I know Mesopotamia is pretty much east of Israel, but they have this thing called the Fertile Crescent. I don't know if you know about that, but in order to come to Israel from Iraq, you go north, and then you travel the whole time, basically west, but it's north. And then once you're up northwest, then you have to travel south. You have to travel south direction. So go to the south of the land, which is in the direction of Jerusalem. The meaning is that Jerusalem was in the middle of the world and the end of the land of Israel, which is the territory of Yehuda. Okay, you can read that on your own, but basically we're going to talk about the idea of that Jerusalem is the center of the world, and that Har Bayit, where we have the foundation stone, is the navel of the world. What do we know about a navel? I don't know that much.
Nourishment.
Huh?
Gives the nourishment.
Gives nourishment to whom? The baby, the fetus. So try to imagine that, I mean, I don't know really how it works, but have you ever seen where they put a cell under a microscope and they produce more, it produces more cells, it multiplies, and before you know it, you have a whole, right? So imagine a baby, right? You had the initial egg and the initial seed, and once there's connection, then there's a multiplication process of cells, and before you know it, you have a whole baby. And the baby is getting its nourishment through an umbilical cord, and eventually, somehow or another, it's connected to the navel. So it's called the navel, because as if that's where it all started from, all the multiplication of the cells. So too, we're going to find out a lot about this place being the navel of the world. So hang on, buckle your seatbelts, and let's proceed onward. So we see that the clear car continues to explain, Lech lidroma shel Yerushalayim v'Har Moriah, that he should go south in the direction of Jerusalem and the Mount Moriah. You should realize for this very reason, remember the verse, if you want to know where it is, I think I quoted here. Look in Genesis 18:1. It says, "V'yera elav Hashem." Now the Lord appeared to him in the plains of Mamre, Alon Mamre, and he was sitting at the entrance of the tent of the at the entrance of the tent when the day was hot. When did God appear to him? When he was in the land of Israel. God did not appear to him in our Parsha, in our verse, where he says, Lechah. The only time that God first appeared to Abraham was when? After he entered the land. Because it was only then there was a preparation that he was prepared as well to see the vision of the divine presence. It says God appeared to him. But prior to this, Avraham was still outside of the land. Lo haya shomea ki im kol dvarim. The only thing he heard were words. He heard a voice and he heard words, but he did not have a vision. Ki lo nira olav Hashem adayin ad ba'ol haaretz. God did not appear to him until he entered the land. I'm also going to tell you something else. According to the Chofetz Chaim, you all heard the Chofetz Chaim? He said that it doesn't matter how religious you are. You can be the greatest Talmid Chacham. You can be the most pious and righteous person. If you come to the land of Israel, you have a new status. You're a Baal Tshuva. A Baal Tshuva is greater than a righteous person. a purely righteous person. And why is that? I have my inkling. I mean, from all the things that I've learned, Chazal tell us that when you're living outside the land, it's as if you have no God. It's as if, okay? And the mitzvahs that you do, you get no reward for. I asked my Rabbi, Rav Noach Weinberg, Zatzal, is that true? You don't get credit for the mitzvahs? He said, you get credit for the efforts. You get credit for the practice. But it ain't the real deal. So now you can understand why, if you're a very dedicated religious person outside the land, it just ain't the same thing. You have a status of a Baal Tshuva when you arrive. Wow. How do you like them apples? You're staying, huh?
No choice.
I know finally. Bezrat Hashem, Bezrat Hashem.
So now we understand now why it's called in midrashic terms. In the midrash, Suma Shel Tzur. What does Suma Shel Tzur mean? It's the ladder of the rock. That's what it's called, the ladder of the rock. And he mentions the medrash that when Abraham reached the place of the ladder of the rock, he said, Yehei Chelki Ba'aretz Hazot. Halavai, if it only would be that I have a portion in this land. This is what Abraham said when he arrived at the place. So the Clear Car wonders, who told the Baal Medrash that it was Har Moriah when it says, when he arrived at Mount Moriah, that it was the ladder of the rock. What does that mean? What does he mean? Let's read it. Mihigi labala medrash she'igi Abraham l'suma shel tzur. Who informed the author of this medrash that that was the place he arrived at? Vaday kavanato al Har Moriah. With absolute certainty, we are talking about, the intent here is Mount Moriah. Why? Kisham makom hasulam asher ro Yaakov oimed bebeis El. That place, it was that place. It was there, the place of the ladder which Yaakov saw standing in the Beit El, the house of God. V'derech also sulam olim v'yordim neshamos. And it was that very ladder that was going up and down the holy souls. V'sham tzur chatzbu shal guf. And it was there where the body was created, where the body was hewn from. Now I want you to look at Isaiah chapter 51, verse 1. And it's an amazing statement here. Hearken to me. God says, listen to me, you pursuers of righteousness. Are you a pursuer of righteousness? Listen to me, O pursuers of righteousness. You seekers of the Lord. Are you a seeker of the Lord? Look at the rock whence you were hewn, and at the hole of the pit whence you were dug. Shimu Elai, Rodfei Tzedek, Mevakshe Hashem, Habitu El Tzur, Chutzavtem, Ve'el Mekevet Bor Nukartam. Kimioto Tzurs, from that very rock, Shenikru Even Shtia, Hushtach Ha'olam HaKlali. It's from that very rock that we call the foundation stone. That was Hushtach Ha'olam HaKlali, that the entire world came from. Like I was describing earlier, in the embryo starts as just a few cells, but the whole world came from that place. That's why it's called the foundation stone. Gam ha'adam nikra, guess what else? We are also called Olam Katan. Each one of us is a miniature universe. Each one of us is also a whole world. Noitzer mimakam oto tzor, which was created and formed from that very rock. Asher bo makom hasulam gam l'neshama, which in it, that rock, and perhaps even within us, Makom Masulam. There is a place for the ladder, also for the neshama. And for this very reason, now we understand why it says Lech Lechah. Go to yourself here, and also by the Akedah, by the offering of Isaac, the binding of Isaac. And now he quotes the first verse that we spoke about. So you can find that on the first source, Song of Songs, chapter 4, verse 6. Elach li el har hamor. I get myself, that's the words in Shir Shirim. I get myself to Mount Hamariah. That's where I want to be. Wait till you hear this. Wait. When you think about what we're now talking about, this is how the world works. Everything goes back to its original state. Okay? The elements disintegrate and go back, right? So the word, this is in Song of Songs, chapter 2, verse 11. So that says like this. For behold, the winter has passed, the rain is over and gone. What does it mean the rain is over and gone? What does it mean the winter has passed? So look at the Hebrew. Over Hageshem Chalaf V'halach Lo. So he quotes, Hageshem Chalaf, the rain is gone, and it has gone back. It's going back to where it originally came from. That's what it means. So how does it work? You have a lake or the ocean. You have humidity. You have heat, and there's evaporation. And the water goes up, forms a cloud when it gets cold, and the clouds move, and then it rains, and it goes back. There's a cycle. So too with our souls and our bodies. There's a cycle. He says, Halach lamakom mikuro, that the rain goes back to its source. Remember, that's how it started, as a lake. It rains, whether it rains on the mountains, the water eventually goes back to the lakes. Ki eid ola min haaretz, for the mist rises up, it goes up from the land. And as another, he's just giving proof after proof, that we'll see what it means, Lech, Lechah. We're going to see this shortly. So in Deuteronomy chapter 2, verse 13, this is before we came into the land of Israel. 2 months before we came into Israel. Now get up and cross the brook. Ata kumu v'avru lechem es nachal zered. So this idea is, when it says lechem, lo, lechah, it's all referring to the movement of going back to yourselves, going back to your original true self. He says, Hainu gam came Eretz Yisrael. That verse in Deuteronomy chapter 2 verse 13 was talking about getting across and going eventually to Eretz Yisrael. And then in Jeremiah 5:5, listen to these words. I will go to the great ones. El Chali El Hagadolim. I will get me to who are the great ones? To the ones who have perfected their character, the righteous ones. Kisham Dirat Hashlemim. That's where the righteous people live. V'chein kol. Now this is where he puts it together. Every time you see the word li, or lo, or lecha, or lehem, and I'll just add lechem, in Tanakh, in Mikra, in the 5 books, Yefaresh al derek zeh. You can explain it exactly the same way. Vehevin Avram milat lech lecha, and Avram understood from those words lech lecha to go to Eretz Canaan, to come to the Holy Land, to go in this direction. Even though he didn't tell him which land to go, he never said go to Eretz Canaan. He never said go in the direction of Africa, go in the direction of Eastern Asia Minor. Right? He never said that. He said Lech Lecha. So Avram had some sense of the general direction where to go. And now in verse 2, right? What do we see? God said, I will make you into a great nation. and I will make of you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. So in Hebrew, Escha legoy gadol, v'yavarecha v'agadla shemecha v'yeh bracha. So what does that mean? First of all, I mentioned earlier, as a consequence of you losing your patriotism in your country and your family and your money, God, not me, God, will bless you. Don't worry. You're going to get all that where you're going. Okay? So these three statements parallel what you're giving up, what I'm asking you to give up. You're not giving up at all. Listen to what he says. Harlo, God wanted to teach him. Afilu otan shlosha to aliyot hamedumot sheyesh lecha. That those three either advantages or positive things that you simulated for yourself in your land and by having your family and in your house with your father. You lecha gam shama, you're going to have there too. Ki im telech mimalatecha, because if you go away from your birthplace, which is the place of your family, makom mishpachtecha, v'tachosh shebe'et hatzorech, that you're concerned or worry at the time of need, lo yelecha lo achai v'lo merachamei, that you won't have your brothers or the people that are going to have mercy on you. That's why it says, I'm going to make you into a great nation. You're going to have family. So there's a concern that at the time of great need, that you wouldn't have your family. You wouldn't have a brother. You wouldn't have people who have mercy on you. That's why it says, I'll make you into a great nation. Kigam sham yetsu mechalatzecha mishpachos rabos. Because there you will have coming out of your loins great amount of family members. Don't worry. Vim tachosh, and if you're worried about Yerusha's mamon, having money, hine po, guess what? I will bless you. That's avarechecha. What does that mean with money? I'll bless you with money. And im tachush el Hashem tov, sheyesh lecha bi'artzecha, and if you're worried about the good name that you made in your old country, I'm also going to make your name great. People recognize you there, they're going to recognize you here too. Don't worry. The Gadla Shemecha, I'm also going to make your name great there as well. Good so far? Now, parallel to the statement of Lech Lechah, which we already established as meaning to your essence, to who you really truly are, guess what it says? The Yehei Brecha, that you will be a bracha, you will be a blessing. What does it mean, you will be a blessing? You will bless, or you will be a blessing? Do you see the difference? Ata yemakor habrachot. You will be the source of blessing. Ayidei shetidbach b'makam hakadosh. Through clinging, through connecting to that land. I'm sorry. Yeah. You. I imagine it said something else. Shetidbach b'makam hakadosh. That through clinging and connecting in this holy place, Asher mimenu yotze hashefel lekol haolam. From it, from that place, spreads out all providence to the entire world. V'hu makor habrachot. It is the source of all blessing, meaning the land. Specifically Jerusalem, but the land itself is the source of all blessings. Ki meimei habrachot min hamikdash yotzin. This means it was from time immemorial, from forever. The blessings emanate from this holy place, from the mikdash, even when the mikdash is not there, the place itself. Ayidei drishas haaretz hakadosha, through desiring and seeking out this holy land, HaKadosh Baruch Hu doishes kol ha'aratzos. God also seeks out all the rest of the countries. He desires the rest of the countries because of this blessing that emanates from here. Nimsa sh'ayidei shetidbak b'makam ahu. It comes out that they're clinging and cleaving to this place, which is the makor brachos, which is the source of the blessings. Tiyegam ata. You will also be makor l'kol brachos. You, Abraham, will also be. Through clinging to this place, you will also be the source of all blessing. Ayidei shetidbak shama shchina. Through this clinging to the Shekhinah, to the divine presence, wow, this is heavy. Your mouth will be like the mouth of God. It will be your mouth like the mouth of God. Have good Shabbos. It will be Yodecha levarek lekol mi shetirtzeh. Are you hearing this? That your mouth will be like God's mouth, and whatever you say, whoever you bless, will be blessed. Guys, you getting this? This is really heavy stuff.
That's good stuff, yeah.
The Medrash says, I will make you into a great nation. This is what we say in our prayers. The God of Abraham, the God of Jacob, right? The God of Isaac, God of Jacob. Why do we say the God of Abraham? Because Abraham was the Goy Gadol. He was the greatest of all the fathers. Everybody came from him, right? Kikol ma sheyotza min Yitzchak v'Yaakov. Even whatever came from Isaac and Jacob. Miyachez gam came to Abraham. Whatever came from Isaac and Jacob also relates to Abraham. In addition, like for Yitzchak and Yaakov, you had Yishmael and the Bnei Keturah. Also, right, Esau. And when it says, I will bless you, we're talking about money. And this is what they mean when they say, Elohei Yitzchak. Because Nidbarek b'mamon yoter mikulam. You know, Isaac was richer than all the forefathers. So Abraham had the most amount of children, right? Meaning all the progeny. And Isaac had the most amount of money. Look in Genesis 26:12. Isaac sowed in that land, and he found in that year 100-fold. And the Lord blessed him. That's where they get the word Mea Sharim. Mea Sharim. 100-fold. And I want you to know that this was a year of famine. A year of famine. This was a drought year. And he had 100-fold. And the Lord blessed him. Look at the words. V'yizra Yitzchak kashana hahi, v'yimsa mea sha'arim, v'archehu Hashem. God blessed him. And what about making your name great? V'egadla shemecha. This is talking about the God of Yaakov, as it says in Genesis 33, verse 20. What does it say over there? That Isaac put together an altar, and you know what he named it? God is the God of Israel. Kadosh Baruch Hu, Karl Yaakov El. God, what do you think? God calls Jacob God? No. God is the God of Israel. Pshuto nikra b'shem Yisrael. The reason it's called Israel is because of what we see in, look on Genesis 32:29. Ki sha'arita im Elohim v'anashim. God said, well, this is the angel, and your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, because you have commanded power with an angel of God and with men, and you have prevailed. But Avraham was only attributed out of these three things. I'm sorry, the last thing, make your name great, that's Jacob. Have money, that's Yitzhak. And make you a great nation, that's Avraham. Okay, so I wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom, and looking forward to seeing you next week.
It's Shaka shir shir chadasha